All right, now I'm ready to go. Okay, so I recently watched a video posted by King MAK3R where he reacted to the content of another creator, and now I'm brain farting. Anyways, it's Europeans' take on the inflated Elo system in Wild Rift from last season. About 11% of the player base was in Masters last season, and it was a little bit concerning. And honestly, it's probably going to impact NA eventually. His theory was that NA coming with the game coming roughly some months to a year later, the game just hasn't reached that point yet because of MMR scaling or something to that sort. I think that might be a little bit tinfoil hatty. Um, I honestly think it probably resonates similarly to why NA solo queue is not as competitive on PC. But I'm not going to get off on that tangent because that's purely speculative. What I want to talk about specifically is Maker's assumptions about how the MMR system and how climbing works and how his belief in Elo Hell works, right? So the idea of Elo Hell to people, how come? There it is. His idea of Elo Hell, right? His idea of Elo Hell is somebody who cannot get past a certain point because of the other four idiots on their team, right? Pretty simple. Now, the assumptions this makes is somebody has to win and somebody has to lose every game, right? So there's 5 people on each team. There's a W, there's an L. These people lose a mark, these people gain a mark. And that's the that's the assumption that he makes, and he assumes that you could have the best player or the worst player on this team and the best player on this team, and then this guy, even though he's the best player, loses points. This guy gains points. This guy gets inflated because of RNG. Our boy RNGesus is shining negatively on our good player right here. Whereas the actual reality of the situation is a little more akin to um, understanding what happens outside of this situation. So what's actually happening is it's not just like 1 1 1 1 1 and 1 1 1 1 1. It is essentially this idea that you have a cumulative MMR that is the combined average of your players, right? So you're going to have this MMR number and this MMR number. And it's going to be fluctuated. So there's theories in PC League. They've never been like fully confirmed by somebody at Riot, but there's theories. And Riot's kind of indicated that they do this. They've kind of indicated that they do this. I can't remember if they've said it like concretely, but basically this idea that like say you have people that are duo, it actually takes the rest of their teammates and has a lower MMR average, and so the team with more duos or more pre-mades will technically have like a lower MMR scaling, in order to give the other team an advantage. But anyways, so you have this win loss, and then you have fortitude points based on your statistical performance, as well as your MMR. So that's how you account for the MMR in this system, as opposed to like the LP system, giving you your gains and losses on PC based on your MMR. So your MMR affects your. I keep doing an R instead of a P. P. So LP gains and losses are going to be affected by your MMR. Fortitude gains and losses are going to be lightly impacted by your fortitude, by your MMR. And that was kind of confirmed by Riot explaining like the LP system for legendary queue and how it's reflective of the fortitude system. So now that we've gotten that out of the way, that means it's not 50-50, right? So Maker's assumption is that it's 50-50. Someone has to win, someone has to lose, and sometimes somebody who's not quite as good is going to win when they don't deserve to, which is kind of like that assumption's true. Like there are going to be people who do not play as well as they should have, or like they should have lost the game. However, there are concrete examples when you review your games for these players that believe they're hard stuck, that believe they're in elo hell. You go into their reviews and you oftentimes find a multitude of concrete examples of ways that that player could have easily predicted the outcome of a situation, prevented a negative outcome in their games, and in fact, their actions or lack of action in the game are solely responsible for the beginning of a snowball that they blame on their teammates because of KDA or because of gold or because of stats. For example, I had a review yesterday after we played a game with someone learning Diana mid. Really great guy. He's got a good head on his shoulders, decent player for what he's doing, but he's consistently failing to see how his understanding of wave state mid is impacting roam timers for his opponent, why him being a pillar and staying mid is an active detriment to his team, and not understanding like when he can do certain things as Diana. So that's just like a little tangent to go off of with this. By the way, that's a 50% right there. So it's his assumption is 50-50. So basically what you see is you can impact more of your games. And Riot designs the game to be like a bell curve, right? So the majority of the time, people are going to sit at 50% win rate, right? And that's fine. In an ideal world, you'd have the average or the most players be average, and then you would have like your master challenger players over here. And that's correct on PC. In PC, master plus is 0.01% of the player base, roughly, which is normal. So why then is EU's master plus 11%? It's that fortitude system. So the way that the fortitude system works is it awards you points based on your LP and based on your performance each game. Let's delete some stuff. Let's actually blank slate it here. Boop. There we go. So let's make some assumptions about how the ladder wants us to go. So the ladder wants us to be, remember, bell curve 50%, and then you have little standard deviations of performance, better or worse than 50% win rate, right? So we'll say this is 50, we'll say this is 55, and this is even like you deserve to be higher, right? And then 45, and then yada yada, you get it. 5 up, 5 down. So roughly the game wants you to be a 50% win rate, and it wants you to sit at a 50% win rate so long as you are currently sitting where your MMR is. So you've got your rank right here. We'll say plat, gold, silver, diamond, master, GM. Right? So plat, diamond, master, GM, plat, gold, silver, bronze. And as well, I don't actually know the real numbers, so this is where we're going to get off. We'll say plat's 1,000. It's definitely not. 1,200, 900, 800. We'll just use easy round numbers just for the sake of the argument, okay? If your MMR is right here, but you're sitting right here, it wants you to have a higher than 50% win rate because it wants you to be approaching this way. Riot thinks that you have the skill to reach that direction, meaning it's going to place you in higher MMR games. It's going to balance you around having higher MMR teammates to keep your average the same. The probability of you having better teammates if your MMR is higher than your rank is going to be higher, right? Because it wants to balance the MMR. However, sometimes when people experience this elo hell phenomenon, it's because it wants them to be higher, but it places them with people down here, right? Down here, in order to balance it out around here-ish, right? And then you're against people that are like that. So that's when you get the situation where you're like, I'm stuck, I'm the best player, and I got 4 idiots, and then it's against 5 balanced players. So yeah, I fully acknowledge that that is technically a statistical phenomenon, like not phenomenon, a thing that can happen in the game. You can have that scenario happen to you, and there's not a lot you can do about it. However, again, Riot has this idea that more wins increases your MMR, more losses decreases it, and then you gain fortitude based on your statistical performance. You've got your first daily win, which inflates you a little bit as well each day, depending on how much you play. You get inflated more if you plague that system by playing less than 5 games a day, and I can explain that in another video if you need. And you have loss shields that are generated based on your fortitude accruement. So that's why Elo inflation past master into GM and challenger, the fortitude accruement required to get a loss shield is so significant that it's less likely that you're going to generate loss shields and climb faster than you need to. That said, there are still anomalies where you have a 49% win rate challenger player because they've played thousands of games in order to balance out that issue. That is a thing. So essentially, the MMR system is designed to push you up and down based on where your rank is compared to where that hidden number is. Which means, yes, you might have 50-50% win-loss, but if you have a 50% win rate, you are consistently winning, which means you will consistently climb towards where your MMR number is until it stagnates. In LP League of Legends, because of loss shields, at 50-50, you could be at your MMR, but if you play enough games, you will consistently, 1, 2, 3 games, got a loss shield, right? That means one more loss. We'll throw one loss in our 50-50 out the window. 1, 2, 3 more games, got a loss shield. Sweet. One more game, out the window. So you could play 3, 6, 9, 12, 18 games. We'll say 18 games, and we'll get 6 loss shields. Yeah. We'll say we get 3 loss shields over the course of 18 games at a 50-50% win rate, so we're 9-9. But 3 of those losses are mitigated, so it's more like you went 9-6, right? And what's 9 and 6 in terms of a win rate? I'm too stupid to do basic math. What's 9 divided by 6?
It's 60%. It's
6.
9 by 15.
Right.
So 9 by 15.
So you have a quote unquote 50. Thank you, Kopek. You have a quote unquote 50% win rate, but you have a 60% win rate. 60. Oh, it's 66. I'm a dumbass. 66.6. You have a 66% win rate because of loss shields in this situation. Now, granted, that's an extreme example. I'm using that for like I'm like Master GM playing in like gold platinum. That would be an example that happens to like somebody with that level of elo inflation. It happens in a much more extreme and broad example when you have these situations where you have like a 49% win rate challenger player with over 1,000 games. I'm looking at you, broken support. And that's how it works. So loss shields artificially create a win rate that is not representative of your gameplay. If you're a better player, you'll be able to climb faster because of these loss shields. If you're a worse player, you're still going to climb just a little bit slower because you have to play more games because you need these loss shields to artificially boost your win rate. And that is the difference between Wild Rift and League of Legends PC, and that is why Fortitude sucks. Loss shield should be removed. Get bent, Rito.